Richard J. Daley. Even the name is larger than life. He was loved and feared. He was powerful, ambitious, hardworking and brilliant, strong, honest, loyal, diligent and clean. But Daley was no Boy Scout. He was the most important man in Chicago in the 20th century, maybe ever. He never had to pretend he was in charge. He just was. He was almost always in control. On December 20th, 1976, he had a heart attack.
A team of medics and doctors worked for more than an hour trying drugs and electric shock to revive the mayor's heart. Their efforts failed, and the mayor was pronounced dead at 3:40 this afternoon. His body was taken to McKeon Funeral Home on the south side, and a private burial service is scheduled for Wednesday.
He lived his whole life in the same block in Bridgeport. He was the only child of Michael and Lillian Daley. He was a sheet metal worker and union organizer. She marched in the streets of Chicago to earn women the right to vote. Richard Joseph Daley was involved in the Catholic Church almost every day of his life. He went to the Nativity Grade School and De La Salle High, and he graduated from Knight Law School at DePaul. In 1936, he and Eleanor Sis Guilfoyle were married. They had 7 children, 3 girls and 4 boys. The family was always at the center of Daley's life, even on election days. Between 1938 and 1953, he was a state senator, representative, and revenue director. He was a ward committeeman, deputy county controller, county clerk, and chairman of the Democratic Party. He won his first of 6 elections for mayor in 1955.
That you will faithfully discharge the duties of mayor of the city of Chicago.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of mayor of Chicago.
According to the best of your ability.
According to the best of my ability.
We must provide the opportunity for every citizen to have decent housing. We must have slum clearance. While we are clearing the slums, we must prevent the spread of blight into the other neighborhoods.
Thus began the Daley era, and he got things done. His first goal was to make Chicago work. But what Daley did best was to bring people together, to build bridges, buildings, highways. He kept an eye on everything: garbage, potholes, police, fire. No plans were too big, no details too small. And Mayor Daley managed to stay in the center of it all. He was equally strong with labor unions and big business. He understood power and when to use it. Daley was the only mayor for a whole generation, and the feelings are still strong 10 years after his death.
I think he was a terrific politician and knew how to run a city. No matter how he did it, he made it work.
Well, it worked in its own way. It was unique, because it was structured in a manner where it was more or less a dictatorship, so to speak. But we accepted it. We kept electing him, so we have to accept it, that's all.
How are you doing?
Nice to see you.
Yes.
I remember him more as what you might characterize as the superb practitioner of plantation politics. And things worked well under him for certain people, but not for everybody.
He said good politics is good government. With him, good government made good politics, and it worked.
How are you? How are you doing?
He got what he wanted. He got things done when he wanted them done. Chicago, he didn't mess around. His word was law.
Daley controlled the city council like nobody before or since. He never lost a vote. His opponents never had a chance.
I don't care whether you like it or not. You were trying to tell the people of Chicago someone will step on them. There's no one will step on you in this council. There's no one will step on anyone else.
Point of order.
You'll get the point of order, but don't be telling anyone in Chicago he'll be stepped on or anyone else. Because as long as I'm mayor, no one will be stepped on. And no one has to be stepped on. And that goes for you, too.
My mother and father told me never back down from any man if you think you're right.
But he was careful about when he got into fights.
Well, they don't get in unless you win.
Daley's ability to win and deliver votes made him a major power in the National Democratic Party. Every president and anyone who wanted to be president had to deal with Daley. The longer he stayed in office, the more legislators he elected and the more influence he had in Springfield and Washington. In the mid-1960s, the nation, the city, and Mayor Daley were confronted with the realities of civil rights and the demand for black equality.
Our power does not reside in Molotov cocktails, in rifles, knives, and bricks. The ultimate weakness of a riot is that it can be halted by superior force. We have neither the techniques, the numbers, nor the weapons to win a violent campaign.
King's speech was almost prophetic. When he was killed in April of 1968, the west side of Chicago erupted in violent reaction. Daley's response was tough and clear.
Shoot to kill any arsonist or anyone with a Molotov cocktail in their hand in Chicago, to fire a building, because they're potential murderers.
4 months later, following the murder of Robert F. Kennedy, Chicago welcomed the 1968 Democratic National Convention. The city was an armed camp with police, National Guard, and thousands of demonstrators involved in 5 days and nights of battles. The most powerful mayor in the country did not have control of what was happening in his own streets.
With George McGovern as President of the United States, we wouldn't have to have Gestapo tactics in the streets of Chicago. To accept the truth.
This image from 1968 is one Mayor Daley could never overcome in the national mind. But in Chicago, his popularity and power were not affected measurably. He won big election victories for mayor in 1971 and 1975. Throughout the Daley years, there was a never-ending parade of dignitaries. The mayor posed with circus performers, movie stars, pop singers, and politicians. But while the public show continued, there was a private world of pragmatic power politics. The stakes were high: money, jobs, and power. And Daley was the master of the game. He played by the rules, sometimes he made up the rules, and usually he hired the referees. He had his weaknesses and blind spots. He had his critics and enemies. But nobody ever doubted that he loved Chicago. And he loved action. He thrived on it. Through it all, we voted for him. We believed in him. We trusted him. Not to be perfect, but to do the best he could.
I'm one of a million people in Chicago that is interested in his neighborhood and interested in the problems of the neighborhood, interested in the children, interested in the senior citizens, interested in the church, interested in the schools. And I think, and I feel very strongly, that makes a better city.
Mr. Mayor, why do you think people have been leaving the city? Why have these city employees who have left done so?
I don't know. You could answer that. You're a journalist. I'm not. I'm just an ordinary mayor.
Chicago.